Today, homeowners living near a chemical spill caused by Union Pacific Railroad are now suing the company for alleged property damages and loss of property value because of that spill.
12 News fact finder Haley Tucker joins us to break down the details of that class action lawsuit.
Rachel, Mike, that toxic spill, which officials believe may have happened in the 1970s or 80s, contaminated the groundwater beneath about 2,800 homes near 29th and Grove. A federal class action lawsuit filed this week alleges Union Pacific exposed homeowners living near the spill to toxic chemicals and alleges the company tried hiding that toxic chemicals were spilled. The lawsuit says homeowners face property damages and a loss of property value because of the company. The suit names two plaintiffs, Faye Black and Janine Tolson, but the lawsuit says it's filed on behalf of everyone within the impacted area. There are a number of other accusations against Union Pacific, including negligence and trespassing, but notably, the lawsuit does not mention any health issues caused by the spill. The lawsuit asks for a trial by jury and wants the plaintiffs and class action members to be paid for the damages caused by the fallout of the spill.